Happy Wymos, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of the On-Call blog, also known as video blog. So, the other day I was on call, and then I get this page at 4 in the morning that my patient is not responding. So I go see him. His ABCs are intact. He's doing fine. As it turns out, he has Parkinson's and has a deep brain stimulator in, which I call his wife about and say, could it be related to this? And then she says, by the way, doc, it's on the wrong frequency. We're going to get that changed when he goes sees a neurologist later, but we're going to worry about it when he gets out of the hospital. That type of thing would have been very helpful to know when he came in a week earlier. Somebody could have just been like, by the way, doctor, whoever my name is, we want to let you know that he's got an implanted medical device in his head and it's not working. But I digress. So anyway, at the end of the conversation, the wife's like, sometimes he gets like this. He has his dystonia thing going on. He can't really talk. But let me try to just let him know everything's going to be okay. So I put the phone up to his ear, and he hasn't said anything coherent up to now. And the first words out of his mouth are, F you. So he bolts up. All of a sudden, there's no more dystonia. This guy's got super strength. He's all hulked out, and he wants to get up and go, which, although he's very strong now, I'm not going to trust the guy that's moderately stable at best with the walker to walk anywhere. So I'm holding him down. The nurse comes in. She's holding him there, and I'm like, get me some Ativan. Of course, at this hospital, even though it's an ICU, the Ativan is nowhere to be found. There's apparently no way to sedate this patient. So I'm trying to talk with him. I'm using my inside voice. I'm, letting him know everything's going to be okay. I'm reassuring and doing reality orientation, which isn't working at all. So then he thinks we're keeping him here against his will, and he throws this right cross right at this male nurse's nads. I was like, oh shit! He's going to tag you in the balls. But fortunately, the nurse turned to the side and it didn't, because that would have been really ugly. So then the other nurse calls in the police, because she's like, okay, we have to get hospital security here right now. This has gotten out of hand. So I was like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. That's just going to escalate the situation. What we need to do is all use our inside voice and be calm and get me my Ativan. Or Versed, or something, anything. So anyway, then 5 guys show up, and they bring with them the dog. So, they're trying to help talk with him and orient him as well, and then they spread apart. The patient sees the dog, and then he goes, I'm not talking to any of you. The only person here I'm going to talk to is the dog. As if on cue, the dog starts barking. And I'm like, get that dog out of my ICU right now. So I think it's going to happen. Of course it doesn't. They move the dog off to the side just so you can't see him. And then as soon as the dog started barking, the guy starts yelling, attack, attack. Mind you, this is at 4 a.m. in the morning at a place where like 80% of the patients have PTSD. Probably not a good recipe for success. So then, finally we get some meds. We get him sedated. He's gone to sleep, and I have to go put the order in, because Lord knows nothing can happen if you don't put the order in, doctor. So I go, and I'm putting the order in. At the computer, I'm looking up. I'm like, oh, the dog still appears to be in the ICU. So in my most respectful voice, I tell the officer, who is incidentally standing with his buddies, I think it would be a good idea if we remove the dog from the unit. And he looks at me and says, with a straight face, just like this, the dog is an officer too. So I look at him like, I'm sorry, excuse me? And he says, the dog is an officer too. Asking the dog to leave is like asking one of us, referring to his friends, to leave too. It's like, well, hell then, y'all needs to get to stepping, all of y'all. So I was like, okay, I'm not even going to bother with it. Doctor put the order in. I just go back to doing my orders, writing my note, or whatnot. The next morning, I tell my attending about it, and he's like, oh, do you mean Officer Dagger? And it's like, what? You know the dog officer's name? What, is he, like, famous around here? Does he run the police force, the dog officer? This is ridiculous. I have no idea what the hospital needs with a dog officer. We're not doing any search and rescue. We're not searching for drugs. I mean, presumably, there's no terrorists in the hospital. I don't know what we need with the dog officer. And then my attending tells me that the dog officer has an $80,000 education. That's how much it costs to train a fully capable police dog. It's like, shit, man, I went to law school for less than that. The whole law school costs less than that. And then, anyhow, so, I don't know. It's just crazy. But if the dog can be the police officer, all I have to say is the robot can be the attending.